Coming at you from New Jersey, the capital of misery, the place where metal forgot to die.
This is the Here Lies Metal Too Many Notes new music review. I am Samantha.
I'm Maledictus, and we shall be your overlords for today and all of eternity. Welcome. Okay, there's another review today. What is this?
This is a band called Air Raid with their album Final Encounter. Air Raid is a heavy metal band from Gothenburg, Sweden. They formed in 2009, and they feature a current lineup. They've had a few lineup changes over the years since 2009, but current lineup, apologies on pronunciation, is our founding member, Andreas Johansson, on guitars.
Sounds like a bunch of Swedish guys to me.
With us for the past two albums is Magnus Mild on guitars. Magnus Mild.
There's always a Magnus.
Fredrik Werner on vocals, and new on this album is Jan Ekberg on bass and William Seidel on drums. Right. Now, this is not a new band, obviously. Fatal Encounter is their fourth album, follow-up to 2017's Across the Line, so we took a big 6-year break there. And it came out on February 24th on streaming, CD, vinyl, and cassette on High Roller, and also on CD on Kill Again Records, which features 2 bonus songs. Note, this is a new band for us, so even though they're on their fourth album, we're just judging them on this album alone and not their pedigree. So
yes, I wish my name got to be Magnus. Isn't that the coolest name you can ever have? You can only have that
you're an
in
adult,
Sweden.
you could change it.
Magnus.
Would you like
Magnus. That's a powerful name. Being that they're from Gothenburg, I suspect something, because bands from Gothenburg tend to have a very retro sound to them. I don't know why, just Gothenburg. There's something about Gothenburg from my experience. So anyway, let's get this review underway. Now it's time for the 5-point bi-directional classification scale, including the categories of genre loyalty, listenability, production style, musical complexity, and just plain fun. Neither side of this scale means good or bad. Let's get moving.
Okay, our first scale, true to nonconformists. We said they were heavy metal, and they are heavy metal. 1 for true. Very 80s, very straightforward, straight from the heart, heavy metal. It is bright, bold, zero subtlety to it. The vocals, we got a beautiful, extremely melodic and emotional, clear vocal just soaring all over this record.
He kind of has a little bit of that Bon Jovi pout. You know what I'm talking about, how Bon Jovi kind of sings like a baby. He's like, you know what I'm talking about. I can't imitate it.
I do not know what you're talking about.
I can't. Just listen to any Bon Jovi song. He kind of has this pout to his voice.
I don't know about the pout. I agree there's a little bit of a Bon Jovi.
And that's
it's him. The vocals only, not the music.
No, not the music at all. No, not even remotely the music. But his vocals kind of go in that sort of direction. But he's going for that, sort of 80s sound, right? The 80s
yes,
hard
this
rock
whole thing is very
sound.
80s.
Yeah.
For the guitars and drums, we're talking I think simple, like a lot of fast riffs and also some slow riffs, but a lot of the riffs are simple, but with these complex licks coming in every so often. A lot of driving drums, just pushing this album forward. And a lot of solos, of course, heavy metal solos, rocking melodic solos, very classic sounding tone on them.
Yeah, they have almost like a composer kind of classic, as in classic, as in the Baroque times, but we'll get into that more in the other category of Too Many Notes. But the guitars kind of sound like the first track for it comes in almost like a Jake Lee song, like an Ozzy Osbourne kind of Jake Lee song, that kind of grind that Jake Lee does, and obviously there's a huge amount of Ritchie Blackmore worship, as any classical style guitarist would do, or we could say Yngwie Malmsteen, who copies off of Ritchie Blackmore, being that he's Swedish, that obviously works better for them. But yeah, we'll get into we'll get into that.
I mean, I think they're doing homage to a lot. I mean,
sure.
Track 2, which I think is the meanest on the album, is the most speed metal, and so they're doing Glenn Tipton there.
Yeah, right. There's a little bit of Judas Priest. Obviously, if you're going to be a hard rock band, like a metal band, you can always go to Judas Priest. How could you not?
But speaking of Ritchie Blackmore, track 7, Let the Kingdom Burn, that we were just talking, it sounded like a straight up tribute to Rainbow in multiple
Rainbow
eras.
In general, yeah.
Multiple eras of Rainbow.
I mean, what's that? Let the Kingdom Burn. It's almost like Kill the King, right?
And There's even a refrain on there that, is like a direct reference to the big refrain on Stargazer, with the whips and chains.
Yeah, right.
And the wind and rain.
The words are very inspired by it. They're almost going the same way.
And it also sounds just like it.
The main riff almost sounds like a Graham Bonnet song called "Making Love." Actually, so I think it's a whole tribute, like We Love Rainbow kind of tribute. All even Joe Lynn Turner, like all of it, like all of Rainbow. It's not just Richie Blackmore and Dio. It's everybody. It's ever been in Rainbow.
But so they do play, most of the songs are pretty upbeat, but they do bring in some like brooding sections, some like very cheesy sounding brooding sections. I can almost like imagine the music video on those sections to be like the band in like a steamy alleyway.
Yeah, and they got their their big hair and stuff. They're just walking through the alley.
Extreme. The whole thing is just extremely corny.
Looking for trouble in the night, as these bands do. They're always looking for trouble in the night. So it's nighttime.
But Maledictus, so we already mentioned the neoclassical elements on here. They come in these little flourishes and licks here and there, but it culminates a complete Baroque interlude called Symphonia, and which is actually a cover, or we'd say in the classical world, performance. Yeah. But like other classic heavy metal bands, they've got covers on this album, 3. The first is track 4, See the Light, which is by a Swedish band called Trazy.
They're very obscure covers, by the way.
Who only released a demo in 1989. So this is a deep Swedish cut
very deep Swedish
of heavy
cut.
Metal. Yeah. And they play it a very reverently. They don't make a lot of changes, and honestly, it fits right in the album. I didn't even know it was a cover. Obviously, I'm not familiar with Tracy. Sorry, I'm not.
Don't know that one. I bet your Fenris knows.
I did not pick up that it was a cover until I looked into it. And I mentioned Sinfonia, which is a piece by Johann Helmich Roman, who I also wasn't familiar with. I could tell automatically it was a Baroque piece because I'm familiar with Baroque music. I did not know this, but he was apparently the father of Swedish music, considered, and also referred to as the Swedish Handel.
These guys are even into deep classical music from Sweden that no one's ever heard of.
It's like, I'm familiar with Handel. I've never heard of Johann Helmich Roman.
Swedish Handel.
But maybe I'll check him out. Okay.
Check him out, bro. We'll check him out.
And the closing track, very fun track, Pegasus Fantasy, originally by Makeup, a Japanese heavy metal band, and this was who was asked to do, and this was the theme song of the Saint Seiya anime.
I'm not familiar.
I was not familiar with it.
I'm enough of a neckbeard to know that one.
I'm not gonna lie, I've seen a few animes in my day. I've not seen Saint Seiya. I don't know. Maybe it got piped into Sweden but didn't make it over here, or maybe I'm just not old enough. It looked like an 80s anime.
Yeah, it looked like a really cool 80s style.
I did check out the intro on YouTube, and it looked pretty bitchin'.
Look cool.
This guy turns into a Pegasus.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really awesome.
Lots of flashy.
It's a very stereotypical anime intro, so it sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, lots of quick moving and
very catchy
camera angle. And, what they used to do back then.
All right, so that went a little long, but we had a lot to say.
Yeah, there's a lot to say about it. A lot to say about this band. Sonic Terror.
Sonic Terror, Distorted Pop. What are we getting? We're getting a 5.
We never get 5.
Distorted Pop.
When's the last time we ever got a 5 on this?
I don't know.
I don't even remember.
We haven't had a lot of heavy metal this year, I guess.
Yeah, we need more of it.
But this album is all about hooks, mostly vocal hooks, which carry the main melodies. As I said, the meanest this track gets is track 2, but it's not that mean. It's certainly not going to pull it back to be anything close to Sonic Terror. And also, I'll say it's a very song-focused album. Very comforting verse-chorus structures. That glorious chorus is coming back, and then the mean, verse is coming in, and all the emotions, and you're just you're supposed to sing along, and it's just very easy to listen to. It's just a very nice time.
These songs are just there to make you happy. Like, they don't want to harm you in any way. They want to give you all the riffs you want. They'll repeat them if you want. Everything. It's just that typical songwriting structure. It's just friendly. All right. There's no Sonic Terror to be found at all. It's a relief.
Yes, we're going back to review this because Maledictus was complaining we've been doing too much Sonic Terror lately.
Is there only Sonic Terror out there, or are there no decent bands? Decent?
Okay, Fisher Price to High Production. Okay. What do you think, Maledictus?
This is super heavy. This is 4.5. That's when we get 4.5. It's not often.
We're having a strange day over here.
Strange day. We're a lot of high on the right side of the scales today. So Fisher Price. This is recorded. I'm sorry, Fisher Price High Production. This is very high production. This is recorded a typical 80s big hard rock album like they used to make back then. Big echoing sound, big wall of sound, just like, if it were recorded back then. Everything in there, has that standard configuration of how they used to make records back then, high production records back then. And they're not going for the lo-fi, like, damaged sound, like a lot of these new wave British heavy metal bands today, the new British heavy metal bands, they try to go for that, like, late 70s, early 80s sound with that kind of muffled kind of sound. It's sort of like a lo-fi sound, because they're trying to be accurate on how those bands sounded. Well, these guys are trying to be accurate to, like, a big hard rock, a big American hard rock band in, like, 1986, when they had, like, the biggest studio, the biggest, production value, signed to the biggest label, max 80s production, all the best equipment they had to offer back then, everything that you expected from an album back then, with the big MTV video and all the smoke and the lights, that's what really we're making here, yeah, so they're trying to recapture that, that time, that nostalgia of like a 1986 big hard rock album. So yeah, that gets you a 4.5, 4.5.
Yeah, really big, clean sound.
Clean, yeah, everything's very. Yeah,
but not too shiny.
Yeah, it's not where it's like annoyingly shiny.
Yeah. It's perfect. It's striking it perfectly, I would say.
You can always hear that 5. If anyone ever gets a 5, when it's a 5.
I'm not sure we'll ever do a 5.
Yeah, I don't think a 5 exists in anything we do in our space.
Okay. The scale of notes. Not enough notes to too many notes. There's a lot of notes. We're getting a 4.5, almost all the way for too many notes. Guitars playing Baroque music. What else can we say?
Yeah, any band that's influenced by a lot of classical music, or Ritchie Blackmore, or Yngwie Malmsteen, whatever, makes classical solos, covers classical songs. You get above a 4 if you're going to be doing things like that. There's no grindcore bands that are doing classical songs, are they? It's where you're going to exist here. It's just default. You're going to be on the right side of the scale.
Even without the neoclassical elements, there are plenty of just straightforward guitar solos on here. And those are also, composed, melodic, and many notes.
Yeah, a lot of
virtuosic guitar playing. Yeah.
When you do that scale, when you go that kind. Sounds like it would be a classical like music kind of thing. That thing, that ultimately actually gives you like a 4. So, all right.
Okay. Our final scale of fun to focused. We're getting a 1 for fun.
On the left side.
Well, what True was on the left side. So this is an album of extremes.
Yeah, extreme.
This is an extreme album.
Extremes.
Not extreme metal, but an extreme album. But I will say this may depend on your definition of fun. Because if you don't think Swedish guys making some of the cheesiest and truest heavy metal,
it's kind of what they do though,
is fun, then you should leave the hall.
Leave the hall. Yeah, it's it's kind of a thing in Sweden to worship like American culture of the past. Maybe not just American culture. Maybe just in rock in general.
Well, they put a Swedish band of the past on here.
So, and I'm sure these bands existed in Sweden, like Europe, for example. These bands existed in Sweden as well. But they're trying to recreate that great era we all think about, us older people remember as kids. But
we keep on bringing up British bands.
Yeah, right.
Gotcha.
Yeah, true. That's true. But yeah, if you're doing a tribute to like anything that's not possible anymore, like 1986, like the year 1986, right? And you're living in this fantasy realm. You're giving fan service to all those that want to live this again. I think it's fun to do that. It's not focused to do that. It's fun to do that.
And also musically, the album is upbeat. It's nostalgic. It's bright, and it's fun. And I want to talk about the vocals again, because the vocals are so much the focus of the album, and those lyrics are way out in front, and you must listen to them and acknowledge them. And they are extremely sincere. Mm-hmm. We've got, in solitude, I will survive this breakup with you. There is no subtlety.
It's very simple. Really.
This song is about me and my ex-girl.
There's no metaphors there. It's just
no subtlety, no metaphors.
Here's the point.
We are simple men, and we sing what we mean.
It's from the hearts, straight from the hearts.
I will now ask Maledictus to do a dramatic reading of the chorus of the first song.
Let me get into position.
Maledictus, please.
How I do my poetry mode. Maledictus, enter poetry mode. Living hard, loving free with the wind. Never know just what tomorrow brings. Day by day, heart to hearts, on the run. No one can stop. I got thunder raging in my blood.
It's nice. I like this. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, exit poetry mode.
Exit poetry mode.
But that's also one of the reasons I wanted to come back and review this. Not just because we would take a break from the Sonic Terror, but like that chorus just enters my head out of nowhere all the time.
Yeah, it's like infectious.
I will sit down in the morning to my job at the desk, and suddenly I'm thinking living hard, loving free on the winds.
That's all you need.
I'm like, shit, I'm not doing any of that.
When they say, Conan, what is best in life? He says, day by day, heart to heart, on the run. Like that's just words to live by. That's like, what you live by if you're, a warrior.
So yes, there is definitely something just undeniable about this album, and which is why we are talking about it.
Yeah. The favorite thing of me.
The art credit goes to Jared Hageman.
He sounds Swedish to me.
Okay.
Fatal Encounter. Wow. That is like a metallic guitar fighter plane.
We've got a reticule.
With the reticule blowing something up like Top Gun. That's a cool album cover, man. One of the best of the year. I think so.
There's guns mounted on the guitar.
It's a flying guitar with guns.
It's also made out of like chrome.
It's chrome too. Imagine if it was a real guitar like
Silver.
That'd be cool if it was if they actually made a guitar like that with guns on it.
It's coming up over these battlements. It's taking aim.
Sounds like a video game.
It has just blown something up.
Yeah, just one kill. Got a kill. Good kill. Good kill, Lieutenant. And this car is just glowing silver. And, it's a flying V, of course, and it's flying through the air like a flying V would, right? You expect a flying V. That's why they call it a flying V, because it's just, right, shaped like something that would fly, right? Yeah, and it's got like a targeting system on it. And it's attached to guns. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's like Top Gun.
It's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And, and it's got it's basically like an airbrush creation. Hopefully this was actually not made on computer, but actually made like by airbrush, as they used to do. How come do people use airbrushes anymore? Back in like when I was a kid, everyone used to make things with airbrushes. Like, wow,
you should bring it back, because a lot of people they're bringing back copiers for some art. You can bring back airbrushing.
Copiers. Xerox copies.
Especially for they want to make a show flyer look old, or they want to make an album cover look old. They use a copier.
I could do it on Photoshop, like not using a copier.
They have actual copiers.
They have actual, because they're cool. They're cool hipsters.
Or maybe they just don't know how to use Photoshop.
It's pretty easy to do. I mean, they just want the authentic thing,
Yeah, but you could become an album artist and do airbrushing.
Yeah, airbrushing. That would, right? All these retro bands, from Gothenburg, Sweden, would just pay you so much money.
I like that the logo is the same chrome as the guitar.
Yeah, that chrome airbrush look.
It's really tying the whole thing together.
Yeah, this is authentic all around, 100%.
In every stars.
Yeah, in every realm, this album is authentic too, like 1986. So, yeah.
All right. In conclusion, I think I already kind of did my conclusion talking about the lyrics just running through my head unbidden as I sit down to enter the hell that is my job, and just having an extreme emotional response to this album and the sincerity of it.
Whatever gets you through the day.
This album can get you through the day.
There you go.
It definitely can.
Listen to it. Yeah.
You should check it out if you like heavy metal. I also want to say I haven't heard this band before. I mean, I wasn't really paying attention in 2017 when their last album was out to underground new heavy metal. But think about some other Swedish heavy metal bands that I am familiar with that are smaller, like Ambush or our Enforcer, obviously.
Yeah.
And
Same kind of style.
I kind of think these guys are better than them, but I don't think they're getting the play that those guys do, especially Enforcer. So not that I don't like those bands, I do, but I think these guys are special and got their thing going for them.
All on a tour together.
Yes, that would be a very
cool,
extreme emotional tour.
Yes, very extreme, be retro. So yeah, folks. I think that's it. And by the way, if you like my voice for things, if you like to hire me as a VO, just contact me. Maybe I could do some VO work for you because I have a voice. This voice, this golden voice.
How does that apply? Like your art skills could apply, but what are they going to hire your voice for? Like a dramatic intro?
Did you hear my voice before? I mean, it's great. I mean, I just me talking.
Reading? Oh, do dramatic
for the reading and
all
just
right.
for in general.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah.
This has been the Here Lies Metal Too Many Notes New Music Review. I was Samantha R.
I was Maledictus. See? I have Maledictus.
He does have a good voice.
I have a good voice. I should have been on the radio.
It's far superior to mine. I'm very jealous.
It's a good voice.
I wish I had a nice voice.
It's a good voice. Yeah, so folks, thank you for listening to this review. Hopefully you enjoyed it. We'll have more reviews for you in the near future. Hit that subscribe button and make sure to like. All right, and check out our Twitter and our Facebook and all that bullshit. All right, we'll see you again soon. Goodbye.